I would say this season of fatherhood, man. Like I said, I got about to have a sophomore in college, a freshman in high school, and a second grader. So I would say what I'm still working on is patience. That's a big one. Patience and communication. Those two are at the top of my list. Um, Patience because making sure that I am giving them the proper tools, but also giving them the space to grow and learn. Really focusing on accountability for myself and for them.
What's up, y'all? This is Aaron with From Dad with Love, and this is the podcast where we talk about fatherhood, the good, the messy, and sometimes the hilarious and everything in between. And so I am happy to have our next guest on today, Loyal. This is my brother, somebody I've been knowing for a good maybe 30, 20, 25.
Yeah.
Something like that. So a good amount of time we've been knowing each other. He's a girl dad, definitely a boy dad raising teens. Like you got a pretty well-rounded group. And so anyway, man, welcome to the show. Happy to have you on. And I just want to do a check-in first to see how you're doing.
Hey man, what's going on, bro? Yeah, like you said, my name is Lloyd Allen Jr. I've been knowing AR since '99 when we first crossed paths. I think I ran Invitational, one of the track meets, and then we connected that fall 2000 in the High Line, and we've been rocking ever since, bro. So yeah, that 25 is definitely real, man. But first of all, man, I just want to give you your flowers for just providing this platform for fathers, especially Black fathers, to share our truth. It's about being a father, let alone a Black father. And it's a great opportunity for us to be vulnerable, reconnect, connect, and just share our stories and, just share wisdom and share truth about being a Black father. So I'm just thankful for the opportunity. And I also want to give you flowers just for using your platform to provide space for and more opportunities for men like myself.
Yeah, man. I mean, we definitely need the space, and I think fatherhood is so layered and it's complex. It is always a constant space of growth and learning. So creating these spaces, I think, is important, especially if we want to show up different for our kids. Again, man, glad to have you on. I think, as we kind of get started, just trying to think about, you have kind of a multi-generational family and being a dad in that space. How do you think your kids would describe you as a dad?
Man, yeah, definitely the generational gaps for yeah, Darius being 19, about to be a sophomore at Lewis and Clark College. Jordan's turning 14 tomorrow, and then he'll be a freshman at Tahoma High School. Surrey be 7 August 5th, and she'll be a second grader. But I think they would describe me as a parent. I think at first they would probably say I'm funny, I'm easygoing, but then I could also be kind of stern, kind of be come off rough sometimes, and it all comes from a place of love, right? I think for me, one thing I try to do is make sure that I respond versus react, whether it be something happened or whether it be just in conversation, just really trying to practice and slow myself down. And I think that goes for me just modeling that. Because yes, we are the parents, but we learn a lot from our kids. Especially being a new father, growing up, always envisioned, I'm going to go off to college, get married, and start my family, right? But I have a blended family. Been in Darius' life since he was 3. And then when Sharice had Jordan, I was there. And then, and then we have our daughter. So with him being about to be 20 in the fall and being around him since he was 3, the birth of Jordan. So those gaps between all 3 of them is very interesting to navigate, but also fun at the same time. Because it's like, all right, we got one through elementary school, boom. Now we got another one come to elementary school, boom. And we kind of remember what we did at those stages and try to just remember things where, okay, we could improve on this, but also kids are different,
Yeah,
right? So we know that there's going to be a lot of different things they're going to encounter, and especially in the classroom.
yeah,
Um, yeah, but definitely. They know I'm a relaxed, funny dude, but also when it's like when dad ain't playing. So
I mean, that respond versus reacting is that's a tough thing to do, man. I think we've been taught as men to not necessarily respond all the time. Like we've been
hmm
taught to react, right? Like use your reactions, especially like if you're in sports, if you are doing something that's competitive, it's like use that energy, that anger, whatever, to just react. And that reaction will get you, your goal. It'll help you reach your accomplishments. But when it comes to fatherhood, like you have to adjust that and switch it around and
hmm
come from a place of like responding versus reacting. I still struggle with responding versus reacting all the time, man. And so I think that's something that's just so hard to navigate.
And I would say this, for just from having boys, right? The stereotypical boys don't cry. It didn't hurt. Nah, if it hurts, man, cry. Like you remember running outside in the concrete, you fall and your hands hit that pavement, bro. That
Yeah,
hurts.
yeah. It's that vulnerability, man. It's like
Yeah,
you gotta be
yeah,
willing to be vulnerable.
yeah, yeah. So definitely, again, like I said, when things do happen, like you said, that responding piece is definitely, I think, critical because it'll allow them to be okay with being vulnerable and showing their emotions, knowing that dad's gonna respond versus react, especially when something really does happen in
Yeah,
life, whether
right.
it's toddler, teenage, young adult, like when something really comes up for them, they got to trust and believe that if I go talk to dad about this,
Is
he's
he
going to
gonna blow up?
respond.
Yeah.
Right,
Is he gonna blow
right,
up or is he gonna actually sit and be present in the moment?
right, right. And we actually had something happen with Darius. I'm not going into details, but it was a moment where Sharice and I was talking like, man, we got to, how we're going to navigate this, right? And, her being mom and, that's her baby. And again, with the blended family, I've been the father figure in Deer's life since he was 3. Never once said to him, "Oh, you got to call me dad now." Like he did all that naturally just from me being there every single day, and modeling how to be a stepfather, right? And I really like to use that term stepfather, even though that's a traditional norm, but I'm his father, right? And so when that incident occurred, it was like I got to make sure that I really converse with him, listen to him, and also let him know that it's okay. We're all gonna make mistakes. Just learn from this. And I think that was the most critical thing was to respond, right? And so that's one of those moments where it was like, man, if had I reacted this way, it could have went this way. So I had to make sure and be intentional about how I responded. Even in conversation with Sharice was like, all right, we can react with each other, but when it comes to talking to him, let's make sure we're responding so he knows that again, if something happens, be truthful with us and come to us. So that was
Yeah,
a prime example of us responding to him just from growing up, and he was able to come to us.
yeah. I mean, because it's crazy. Like you think about, and I know it's not a one size fit all, but like some of the kids that grow up and they don't go to their parents for something, they go to their friends or they go to, and part of that is like, my parents been so reactionary. Like, why would I come to you when I really made a mistake or I really messed up or developmentally I made a decision that actually is one that people make at this age, but I'm not gonna come to you because you might blow up. You got teens, man. So what is it like raising teens? Because I ain't got that.
Raising teenagers, man, it's fun. It gets frustrating, but at the end of the day, you're gonna remember what was I doing as a teenager. Like that really allowed me to really again work on that responding. Like I know what I was doing as a teenager, and whew, like when I'm able to tell them what I was doing at the 8th grade, ninth and 10th, you know what I mean? And understand that they're going to be around those same peer pressures. But I think it's heightened because of this technology we have. Like the cell phone is the gift and the curse for our youth. And that's the scariest thing is that we can't protect them all the time. So all we can do is have conversations about the importance of making sure you know who you're communicating with online, know who you're communicating with, and just in general, because how people be hacking things now is somebody gets in a message, you think it's them, and you respond right away, and it's a bot or somebody trying to hack. So that piece of it was, I think, a tough piece to navigate because you see all your peers, they're posting stuff like, "Oh, can I get Instagram? Can I get this?" So just making sure that again, that openness, like, all right, so Shree's got access to their accounts. I'm all for monitoring our kids for their safety, not for the monitoring of policing.
Yeah.
And for them to understand that because things are gonna happen. I mean, I've gotten
Yeah.
hacked before in an accident,
Yeah.
and we all learn from it. Um,
And also it also builds trust too, like with your kids. Like it opens up that line of like trust, communication. So that way you don't have to do it on the low. If you
mhm,
had a conversation up front, like I'm gonna be monitoring,
mhm.
I mean that kind of changes the dynamic too.
Yeah, yeah, but and also the fun piece is, both boys are athletes. Darius is basketball, Jordan is track, and so being able to do those sports with them, like that's one
Yeah.
thing I didn't
Yeah.
do with my dad. Like I saw my dad do it. Like my dad used to take me down to Rainier Playfield, him hooping with all my uncles and stuff like that, and me I'm on the side of the court, shooting on the broken rim in Rainier. Folks know what that
Yeah.
is. And then we didn't do a lot of one on one or nothing, but the fact that I was able to do that with Darius when he was in middle school, teaching him, all right, we're gonna play three dribbles one on one, and we're
Yeah.
doing that
That's it.
because you got to be able to make space in three with three dribbles and make a move.
Yeah.
Right? Jordan's now in his third or fourth year of track, and dealing with growing pains, so having knee problems, and just like, look, man, we're gonna give you some things to help you minimize that pain, but push through it when you can.
Yeah.
Listen to your body, trust your body. Dealing with injuries, but most importantly, making sure you're doing it for yourself. I'm able to push them in ways that my dad didn't push me, so actually doing it with them. Like running with him. I was running with him yesterday. I'm like, don't worry about trying to blast this thing out. You did your second 400 ever, and you dropped your time by 6 seconds.
Hey, and that 400 ain't no joke.
No, it's not. And to see him really grow in that sport on his own, just like Darius in basketball on his own, it's just something that glad I'm able to pour into and do it the best way that I feel that I'm going to do it for them, so they're able to enjoy and love the sport on their accord. But I'm going to push them. Like, if this is your dream to be a professional athlete or to use this tool to get
Yeah.
into college, I'm gonna push you, and it's gonna be frustrated, but because I know we've been there. But I'm gonna push you. I'm pushing you with love.
Yeah. We definitely been there for sure. What would you say is like a dad fail that you can laugh at now and be like, yo, I blew that. Yeah.
Man, I think a dad fail for me was instead of owning the way I reacted one time. I apologize not in my actions, but I apologize how I had reacted. If that makes sense, right? Like I didn't own I made the mistake and I allowed my emotions to get the best of me instead of saying, you know what, I apologize. I should not have reacted that way. You know what I mean? And like that's something not that I laugh at, but it's like, dang, that was a moment that now I know going forward to show my ownership and man up to what I did. You
Yeah.
know, in the end.
Yeah. I mean, repair is that's something that I think really requires a lot of practice. Like if we mess up, we make a mistake. Like I remember I had a moment where I could hear the word when I said these words out of my mouth. It was like I couldn't grab them fast enough to pull them back in. But my son he was saying something like he wanted me to do something, and I was like, I don't care what you want to do. I don't care how you feel about it. And like he's 4, you know what I'm saying? And as I was saying the words, I was just thinking to myself like I was feeling something as they was coming out. Like I'm sitting here telling him, I don't care about what you like. I'm using the words, I don't care about what you feel right now.
Hmm.
And I felt like that was a fail because um, I try to be intentional about like the word choice, because I'm a person that really believes, what you say can really impact people, especially if you grew up in an environment where words was thrown, like
Right,
weapons.
right.
And so I feel like that was a fail. I think just on my communication because I'm looking at like, man, I can do better than that,
Hmm.
and obviously, like I said, the repair part of it, trying to repair and go back and
Hmm.
say I shouldn't have said that or say it different is something that I'm also like still trying to like navigate because sometimes honestly I don't be feeling the like you got to say sorry sometimes just to say sorry to make your kids feel better, especially like for the younger ones.
Hmm.
So yeah, man, that was a feel I had, and I felt so bad, like,
Yeah.
damn,
Yeah.
I really just told him I don't care about what you feel.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, that's fatherhood, man. Those are things about fatherhood that you learn that
Right.
you didn't have a
Right.
blueprint for. It
Right.
wasn't modeled.
Right. And the modeling aspect of it is one thing that I think I really try to be intentional about, like you just said, because thinking about my dad, big LA senior, that dude, man, he's such a cool cat, man. But when he's in his element, like he can be so authentic, so real, and so cool, man. But one thing he always modeled for me was I'm gonna go to work and make sure the house is taken care of, and I'm gonna take my son to practice. I'm gonna show up to his games. Like we didn't communicate a lot, but I seen him always be there for our family, whether it be our immediate household or going to grandma's house or going to my aunt's house, and him just being like that guy of the family. So I think that's one thing he did. He was a man of few words, but his actions spoke more, and that's what I try to do. On top of trying to be more communicative with my kids,
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing for me is modeling what he did and doing things he didn't do. I think that communication piece is huge for me because, we didn't start saying I love you a lot until I was, say, a younger adult. And we make sure I do it now. And
yeah,
telling the boys I love them, telling Suri I love them, telling Sharice I love her. Yeah, I think that's one of those things where, you try to break those cycles that you
yeah,
didn't grow up with
yep,
or where you saw others modeling and he's like, you know what, when my opportunity comes, I'm gonna do that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that part is especially like the "I love you" part, man. I think, like I grew up watching my dad be a partner to my mom and be a father to us, but I didn't marry my mom. You know what I'm saying? Like I married a different woman. And so I learned he modeled something for me, but I was learning how to love somebody like my mom, not somebody like my wife. Um,
Mm,
and so and so like you gotta relearn that. And then when you have kids, it's a flood of trying to figure out even what love means
mm-hmm.
to children because now you got this definition of what love means like as a child, which might mean, especially in like my environment, like love meant like make other people feel good. You know what I'm saying? At whatever expense or cost, like make sure everyone else around you was good. And so that's some of the things, man, that I think like don't get talked about enough, especially when you
Mm-hmm.
talk about love and you talk about like how it was modeled for us. I think a lot of fathers, man, like we saw our dads loving on our moms, or
Mm-hmm.
but then you don't go marry your mom. You marry somebody that's might be a completely different woman than how your mom even moves and navigates. And so then you got to relearn that. And then you bring children in the world, and you got to relearn that. So,
Right. 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 And was I think this is a huge layer that probably don't get talked about when we're talking about our parents. And first of all, man, your dad, man, I love that dude, man. Rest in peace, Pops,
rest in
man. But
peace, man.
the one thing I got from Papa David Reeder Sr., man, was how proud he was of us, bro. Like every
Yeah.
time he's like, man, what's up, son? And I could just hear it every now and then. It's like, yeah, pop into Costco or come to Highline or something by the house.
Yeah.
He was just so proud to see us. And
Hmm.
that's one thing I think I enjoy about having close friends like you whose parents are still I would say this. When we look at the black community, I think between my family and close friends, I might be able to count on one hand of whose parents are still married.
Right.
And that's like a huge layer. And it's not like it's a negative thing, right? Because we know families that are parents that are no longer married, but they're still operate as a family. And I think that's the piece of it that's critical. Is yes, you may divorce as husband and wife, but you still operate as a family. And I think that's what I've seen in my family.
Hmm.
Because like I said, I can count probably one hand between cousins and close friends whose parents are or were married. And like you said, you grow up in your households and you think about, how you love your mother. You see your father love on your mother. And if you have other siblings, all those dynamics. And like you said, when you come into your adult life and you find your spouse, your wife, and you look at the commonalities of your parents' relationship,
Hmm.
your relationship with your partner, and then I look at like how Sharice is with the boys. And I'm like, wow, that's that mother son love that
Mm,
I was raised with, right? And
yeah,
so that was critical for me when it came to finding love. I think the way a mother is a mother to her children was very critical for me.
yeah,
And that's a bonus that I am blessed to have because it allows me to model that same energy and that same love from a black male perspective, and again bringing in the love that I've seen
uh-huh,
that was modeled, and to do things new and do it my way as a learning every single day long journey of how to be a black father.
yeah, yeah. And a lot of that too is like loving on yourself. Like,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Like you got to be able to, me and you both got mental health backgrounds, you know, in counseling. And it's like, you got to also be able to love yourself, I think, which helps you love like your kids better, you know,
Hmm.
your partner better. And so I would say this, a lot of work in fatherhood isn't just, I think, in my opinion, not just like being present in your kid's life and like showing up and doing all the things and going to the games, but also like bettering yourself, like getting your own personal mentals together. So now you understand things like what is my triggers, or you understand like, you know, I don't do well with self-regulation. Like, and I'm speaking for me, like I don't do well with self-regulation. Like my wife can look at me in a second and be like, you're dysregulated. And if I'm dysregulated, how can I have a conversation with my kids? Or if my son's having a tantrum or my daughter's, you know, trying to get something and she's not happy about my reply or my response, if I'm not regulated, then I can't even show up as the best version of myself as a father. And so I think that part too is like loving yourself, but you gotta like sometimes loving yourself is like doing the work on yourself. So I definitely don't want that to be something that I think dads don't.
Hmm. Yeah, that's why I think that, like you said, the importance of um making that time for yourself. Like for me, track running, that's my outlet, right? I'm thankful that Sharice allows me to coach, because I've been coaching since college. So she knows track is a huge part of my life, and I know from the month of March to July, that's one thing that's added on to my day to day, and I know that can be tiresome and burdensome. So I got to make sure I'm doing more at home because I'm giving an hour and a half on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then on Saturdays, it could be 10 hours some days. So I got to make sure I'm doing more at home, especially during the track season. But also, I'm going to make sure I continue that when it's not track season, because you see these ads or some of these black love pages where you see I may be at a 90 and she's at a 10, right? Or vice versa. I'm at a 10 and she's at a 90, and then when we're both at 100, it's always, it's good, but life is life. Life's gonna be lifing, and like you said, if we're not working on ourselves, we're not
Yeah,
able to have real authentic conversations, allowing one or another to be tired. We got to do that for each other, because if I'm exhausted and she knows I'm exhausted, we got to make sure that again we're responding correctly, being transparent. Even like I was tired as hell yesterday. I'm sorry. It was one of them days.
yeah,
And with her being back to work now, and it's like, dang, I know she's tired as hell.
yeah.
So I got to make sure, even though I'm tired, I gotta push through. Because again, that's the
And even
stereotypical.
no, I was gonna say, and that's modeling though. That's like your kids are watching that. You know what I'm saying? Like they are watching how y'all navigate. They're watching, okay, when he's tired, what happens? Or when she's tired, what happens?
Hmm.
And that's the part that like why we gotta be so conscientious of what we're doing and be so present because our kids is constantly in the shadows looking over. Like, cause then they'll replicate something or say something you said and you didn't even realize they was even by you to even hear that. Or,
Right,
you
right,
know,
right.
so yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think is something that you might still be learning in this season of fatherhood?
I would say this season of fatherhood, man. Like I said, I'm about to have a sophomore in college, a freshman in high school, and a second grader. So I would say what I'm still working on is patience. That's a big one. patience and communication. Those two are at the top of my list. Um, Patience because making sure that I am giving them the proper tools, but also giving them the space to grow and learn. Really focusing on accountability for myself and for them. It's just I would say honestly, man, having these three different stages in our household, man, it's a beautiful thing, man, because we remember how Darius was when he was 5, how Jordan
Yeah.
was when he was 5, and
It's
so
like you can flip back to the book and be like,
right.
oh,
And the bonus of technology is, we got memories in Snapchat where we just record stuff, they pop up, and we was like, look at you. Like the other night, we're looking at, Surrey and Jordan. Like Surrey's bear crawling on all four hands and feet, and Jordan's right there with her. Darius in the kitchen making some noodles, so you get to relive all those moments, and it's like, wow, we're doing all right. Because I think this another piece is that imposter syndrome. Oh my gosh,
mm,
making sure that I don't get caught up in that because there's no
imposter syndrome, like as a dad.
yeah as a dad
Yeah.
because there's no one way to do it as a father. Like you say, you take what you went through with your father. You saw what your peers have done in their fatherhood. You've had coaches, pastors, and you try to take all that and just be yourself.
Yeah.
While just what would so and so do, or what did my dad do at this time? So really, just I would say I'm in the season of just learning more. Just learning more because I have a young adult, I have a true preteen that's about to be a freshman, and then I have a little kid on hand, and she's the
Hmm.
firecracker.
Hey, as she should be, man. As she should be.
Right, right.
Oh man, no, that's a blessing to have. I think to have like those three different times of childhood, like at the same time, like just to be able to relive them, to learn, which prepares you for the next one when they get to that age. So I think that's definitely a blessing. And what would you think is like a generational cycle you trying to like redo or break that you think is important right now?
I think for me, because of the age gap between me and my brother, I'm able to you know help them navigate working, being with each other, being in relation with each other. Like, when Sharice and I we go to work, Darius is here on break. So or when she wakes up, she knows, let me go get big brother, give me some breakfast. And if he goes to work out, Jordan, okay, Jordan, can you make me some tater tots? So, making sure that they know how to communicate with each other. And also, they're siblings. So they're gonna riff, they're gonna fight, and I think that's the piece that we're able to really try to get to understand is that we know siblings fight. But at the end of the day, man, y'all gonna love on each other. And that's the most important thing for me is to make sure that they know at the end of the day, you show up and you love on your brother, your sister. You
Hmm.
love on your mom and dad. And whenever you leave these doors, you want you to come back home safe. And also when you leave these doors for a period of time, like Derek's going down to Lewis Clark in Portland, we're here for you. We're a text, we're a FaceTime away. Check in. We'll check in on you
Hmm.
and just really know that we did our part for them to go out and be in the public and know that they're going to represent us. They're going to represent themselves, and we've molded some strong-willed individuals. Man, I think that's the most thing I could look back and just say, you know what?
That's good.
When they go out these doors, they're gonna
Yeah.
be all right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's important. And since you dropped the love, your kids loving on each other, I got one last signature question, which is, this is from Dad with Love. So what would you pass on to another dad with love?
hmm I would pass on that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be tired. It's okay to be frustrated. The thing is, you want to make sure you find your outlet, right? Make sure you have self care, whatever that is for you, whether it's working out, listening to music. Make sure you know where you can release your stress, where you can release energy. Don't bottle it up and do all of that with love. Love for yourself first so you can love on your family and be intentional. Be intentional about everything that you do. Like you said, be aware of your triggers. So, like, really understanding yourself so you can understand each and every one of your kids if you have multiple kids. You understand your spouse, your partner, and just do everything with love. That's what I would say.
Man, well, thanks for being on the show, man, dropping these jewels and being vulnerable, being honest, just about fatherhood. Like you said at the beginning of this, we don't have enough of these conversations, enough of these spaces. So I'm just glad to have you on it, have you as my brother.
Yes,
And,
sir.
we on the fatherhood journey together. So I
Yeah,
appreciate you being on From Dad with Love. Thanks for tuning in to From Dad with Love. If this episode made you pause, laugh, or feel seen, please share this with another dad doing the work. And remember, it's not about being perfect, it's just about being present. Until next time.